Hey everybody, in this video I'll be playing Stargrave's the Salvage Crew scenario, which will be the second battle for my Stargrave campaign. Hey everybody, I'm Alan, with Bricks and Blocks Gaming, the channel that plays tabletop games using toy bricks and blocks and discusses the rules and strategies that build the foundation for those games. In the Salvage Crew scenario, General Basu and the crew of the Hope Rising are searching for some parts they need for their ship, while the pirates from the vessel the Crossbones are seeking to stop all the efforts of the freedom fighters for this battle in Stargrave. Though you don't have to watch my battle videos in order, I do have a continuing storyline which started with character backstories in my campaign introduction video, so you may at least want to search the timestamps of that video and watch the story introduction clip at the start of my previous battle video before watching this scenario. In this video, I'll start by sharing the stats, powers, and gear of my third captain and her first mate, show the crew that's been assigned to them, give a recap of General Basu's crew after his last battle, give a customized story introduction for this scenario, then I'll start the battle. And at the end of this video, I'll discuss and fix an error I made when creating my captains. Captain Mira is a mystic, which gives her +2 will and +1 health, and she has chosen to increase her fight stat by +1. Her powers are Void Blade, Mystic Trance, Heal, Dark Energy, and Drone. She's equipped with a pistol, hand weapon, knife, grenades, and wears no armor. For story purposes, all her powers are created by the suit she wears, except for Drone, which, if successful, is just a robot she's brought on the mission. The pistol and hand weapon she carries are also things that are integrated into her suit. Lieutenant Vereth is a rogue and has the powers Haggle, Bait and Switch, Data Jump, and Target Lock. I didn't realize until after this battle that Target Lock requires the figure to actually carry a grenade launcher. So the stats and equipment you might see on my character sheet during the video have been slightly changed for future battles. So after this battle, he'll have +1 to his will, health, and fight stats, and +1 to his move, not his shoot stat. In the future, he'll be armed with a grenade launcher instead of 2 pistols that are counting as a rapid fire, and he's also equipped with a hand weapon, a knife, and is wearing heavy armor. The crew that Captain Mira has been given are a gunner, a burner, a Pathfinder, a Sentry, a hacker, a Chisler, and 2 recruits. The priority of these pirates is destruction of their enemies above anything else. General Basu and his first mate Gol'Bloth continue in their mission of seeking physical loot to gain more supplies for their efforts, and focusing on preserving the lives of their crew, which are a sniper, a gunner, a Pathfinder, a Codecracker, a Chisler, a Sentry, a Trooper, and a Runner. So now, let's get to the bricks and blocks of the Salvage Crew scenario for Stargrave. Arriving at the abandoned research facility, Captain Mira of the vessel the Crossbones ordered her pirates to search for who had been sending the transmissions she'd intercepted. However, all her crew could find were her fallen scouts. One of them was still clinging to life and was muttering about a warrior in blue armor and a crazed man with a red mohawk. Just then, one of the pirates informed Mira that scans showed some sort of auto-defense system that activated near the planet's equator, about 4,000 kilometers away. Hours before, System Crash had ambushed the crew of the Hope Rising. However, System Crash seemed more interested in looting his victims than killing them, and surprisingly, let them go before making a hasty retreat from the planet. As the crew of the Hope Rising also attempted to flee the research facility, they discovered the crazed Techer had somehow remotely uploaded a virus into their computer system, and the ship was unable to fully engage their engines to leave the planet's atmosphere. Perhaps System Crash let them go on purpose to give any pursuers a different target to hunt. as General Basu's crew tried to just get away from the battlefield and find a place to hide. They flew over a swamp, and their tech officer noticed a small crashed ship that might have the compatible computer parts they'd need to fix their problem, if they were still functional. After hiding their ship in the heavy foliage, the freedom fighters worked their way to the crashed vessel, but quickly learned the ship's auto turrets were still operational. The crew worked carefully to extract the parts they needed while avoiding laser fire. They had just a few more things to grab when they noticed a pirate dropship landing on a rocky hill nearby. The Salvage Crew begins. For this battle, Captain Mira will be the white die, and General Basu's team will be the purple die, and the green die will be for the uncontrolled creatures. I have my table set up, but before we take a look at it, we'll see who gets to choose their side first, and that will be Captain Mira choosing her side. For out-of-game powers, for the pirates, Lieutenant Vereth has no before-game powers, but Captain Mira does. She will attempt to use the Mystic Trance ability, activating on an 8. That is successful. That allows her to use one of her other powers before the battle, so she will now try to use the Void Blade ability on a 10, and she got that, so she will start with her Void Blade. Captain Mira now has her Void Blade, then to General Basu's team. For the Freedom Fighters, Gol'Bloth has no out-of-game powers, but General Basu will start out by using Armoury, activating on a 10. That is a 6, so he failed this time, and then he will attempt Toxic Secretion on a 14, and he failed that one too. I've got my crews deployed in the corners here, but before I discuss what's going on the battlefield, let's take a look at the loot tokens. In Stargrave, the loot tokens are placed after the crews are deployed, so I've got 2 physical loot tokens here, and 2 data loot tokens to kind of represent parts that have fallen off the crashed ship. And once unlocked, a figure will just haul around one of these data pads for data loot, or a bag filled with parts and things for physical loot. The Salvage Crew scenario calls for a swamp setting, and also calls to have a crashed spaceship right in the middle of the battlefield. And there's a couple special rules with this spaceship. Instead of a centralized treasure token being placed, the crews are basically trying to come up to this and break loose part of the ship to access a token, and I'll explain that when the crews get up to it. And the vehicle also has auto turrets, which will be firing at crew members every turn, which I'll again explain when we get there. For my playthrough here, I'm saying that everything kind of in this rough circle here where this water is, it's not deep water, but it's going to be rough terrain, slowing down all the figures that come through that. And for the other loot tokens, we have 2 physical loot tokens placed over here, and then the 2 data loot tokens are placed down there. One other thing you might notice if you've seen some of my other battle videos is that my board is a little smaller than usual. I'm playing on a 2-foot by 2-foot board. I figured that with all the slowdown that this rough terrain will cause, having a smaller battlefield for this might be interesting. So I thought I'd try it out. The rules in the book say that if you use a 2-foot by 2-foot board to instead try deploying the crews in the corners. So I'm doing that. I've never done this before, so I thought it'd be interesting to try out in case you at home might have a shorter table that you're playing on. And we'll get to the deployments in a moment. No uncontrolled creatures start on the table, but every turn after the first turn, there's a chance that one of these Ryakans will appear on the battlefield. They're supposed to be kind of hairless bird/bat creatures, and the best thing I've got to represent those is bats, so those might be showing up on the battlefield. For the deployments, over here the pirates have set up, and Captain Mira is right over here with her Void Blade. She has a recruit, a robot hacker, their gunner, a Sentry with a shotgun, a Chisler, a Pathfinder, a burner, another recruit, and there is Lieutenant Vereth. Right up front here, the Freedom Fighters are set up. We have General Basu right here next to their sniper. Here is their Sentry, their Codecracker, their robot Chisler, their gunner, their Pathfinder that they were able to save from the last battle, their runner, a trooper, and there is Gol'Bloth, the first mate. The crew of the Hope Rising is always looking to try to obtain more physical loot than data loot, so they can find supplies to keep their team going, and they always have a desire to preserve the life of their crewmates. And over here, the pirates, their main desire is to stop their opponents, and so they will do all they can to stop General Basu, perhaps not even focusing much on loot. We'll roll initiative for the first round, and that goes to the pirates. Captain Mira is going to activate with her recruit here, and she's going to start out by moving 6 inches and then activating a power, which will let her do a power move, which will put her right here with a total of 9 movement, and then she will use the droid power. I guess that's drone, not droid. She activates this on a 12, 13. There is 1 strain for that, so she takes 1 point of damage. So her drone appears right in front of her. Then the recruit will activate, and she will have him come right over here to be kind of a meat shield for her. General Basu here will activate by himself, and he will move over here. He can move 5 inches to right here. And then he will attempt the coordinated fire ability on the gunner. He's reduced this down to a 9. He got an 8. He will exert for 1 there. So this gunner now has +4 shoot for the remainder of the battle. Basu will not use his power move. He'll stay there under cover. Over to Lieutenant Vereth's activation. He actually doesn't have any powers he can use this turn. He's got target lock, which lets him fire a grenade 16 inches across the battlefield, which, if he moved forward, is almost far enough to reach Basu on this short battlefield, but not quite. So instead, he's just going to do a double move, activating by himself over to right here. He wants to stay in cover this turn. Gol'Bloth over here will activate with this Sentry. The Sentry will use his actions first, and he is going to run around his team up in front of this plant and then right over to here on 7.5 inches. I just remembered a ruling that I recently read about the game Frostgrave, and I used to play where I could move a figure through friendly figures, but there was a ruling made that you can't do that. You instead have to climb over your allies. So I'm assuming the rule also applies in Stargrave. I had planned to move Gol'Bloth through these guys so he could get further down the board, but he can only just move to there since he's got to climb over those guys. Then he will use the lift action, lift power on the Sentry. Lift activates on a 12, and that is successful. That will move this Sentry 6 inches right up to here, giving him a little bit of cover. Then Gol'Bloth is going to use his power move to move 3 inches to right here. To the soldier phase, over here, they will have this gunner and this Sentry both do double moves up here by this rocky outcropping. That puts those two right there, and then they will have their Pathfinder. On a double move, he can go 10.5, which is going to let him come way over here and hang out right down there. This recruit over here is going to run right over here past Lieutenant Vereth to right there. This hacker droid is going to zoom across over here to there. This Chisler will double move over here, right to here. And then their Flamer on 7.5 inches can get right over to here. And I almost forgot about this new drone. It is just going to come right over here, so it stays within 3 inches of Mira. so that she can send it where she needs it next turn. To the soldiers of the Hope Rising, they'll start with having this sniper double move over here and climb up on these rocks. And he's looking pretty thematic there, pointing his sniper rifle through the trees. Then over here, we will have this Pathfinder and the Runner. They will both run down here. The Runner will stop there so she can activate with Gol'Bloth. The Pathfinder can make it all the way down here to this skinny little tree where he can have a little bit of cover. And for the last of their soldiers, they'll start with having their Codecracker run around here on a double move. Then their Gunner is going to kind of follow. He can get right up here in front of Gol'Bloth. The Chisler droid is going to run around here just past Basu. And their trooper is going to run around here right in front of Basu. At the end of each turn, the auto turrets from this ship fire at the nearest figure. It says the nearest figure to the ship itself that's in line of sight. Since I'm saying this up here is the auto turret, it's whoever's closest to that. And this sniper just barely beats out one of the figures over there. So he will get a +3 shooting attack at him. He does have light cover here behind these trees. This is a +3 against +3. And that's slightly on its side. It would roll down to an 11. So that is a 14 against 12. So that is 4 damage on that sniper. Actually, the sniper gets a 14 also because he gets the +2 for light cover. So that's a tie, so no damage on a shooting attack. I'll roll initiative for the next round, and the special rules for this scenario say that if the lowest roll is an odd number, then one of those Ryakans will appear. So let's see what we get. It's a tie. Try again, and this time it goes to Basu. Since the lowest number is a odd number, the pirates get to place a Ryakan in any corner of the battlefield. Since it's flying, I'll put it on a longer peg, and they will put it right here on this front corner because that is closest to their enemies. General Basu will now activate with the Trooper, the Chisler, and the Sniper, and he'll start with having this Chisler run right over here against the ship. With the rough terrain, he can still get there with a 3-inch move, and then he is going to attempt to break into the ship. He does this just like he's trying to open up a physical loot token, so being a Chisler, he'll have a +7 to this roll, target number of 14. That is a 13, so he cracks that open. And it's random whether this is a physical or data loot, so odd will be physical, even, so that will be a data loot token. The special rules say that if it was a physical token, it would be automatically unlocked, but if it's a data loot, it is not. So we'll put this little computer here next to the droid, and now someone's going to have to break into that to unlock that data loot. Next, Basu is going to use the coordinated fire power on the sniper. Activating on a 9, that works. Basu will then use his power move to climb up over this little hill, and then use his regular move for a total of 7 since he had to climb over something, and that will get him all the way over to here. Then the sniper up here actually has a clear shot at that recruit way down there, so he will fire at him. Since the recruit is against this wall, he does have light cover, so he gets a +2. So that is a +5 shot now with coordinated fire against +4. And that is a 24. That deals 14 points of damage to that lowly recruit there, so he didn't even see that coming. And the sniper has a pretty good vantage point where he is, so he will stay there. Then this trooper is going to run over here to where he has a clear line of sight to this Ryakan, and he will fire at it. The Ryakan has +2 fight, but the trooper moved, so it's a +3 against +3. And that is a 17 on the shot. Ryakans have 10 armor and 10 health, so it takes 7 points of damage. It's down to 3 health, so it is both wounded and stunned. And we'll just make him land while he is stunned. Over to Captain Mira's turn. She will activate with just her drone, and she will send the drone on a double move down here, where it now has line of sight to this Pathfinder. Mira will then activate her dark energy power, and she can use her drone to draw line of sight, so she will essentially fire that from her drone into this Pathfinder. That activates on a 10, so that was successful. Now I believe that the hasty shot modifier applies to shooting attacks from powers, but in this case she didn't actually move, her drone moved, so I don't think hasty shot applies in this case. So this will be a +5 shooting attack, and he's not really behind that tree from this angle, so it's +3 defense for the Pathfinder. And that is a 21, and the dark energy ignores any armor bonuses, so he's essentially armor 9 against that 21, which means he takes 12 damage. He is down to 2, and he is stunned and wounded. And this is starting to look all too familiar for this Pathfinder to be injured there. And then Mira is just going to do a single move over to here. She doesn't want to commit too much to coming over here with this whole team rushing over. And Captain Mira does take 1 point of strain damage from that. Gol'Bloth is going to activate with all 3 of these soldiers, and he'll start by sending this Codecracker over here. On the double move across this swampy ground, he can just barely get into contact with this data loot so that he can try to break into that next turn. Gol'Bloth will then climb over his allies here to right here. And from right there, he is going to use Break Lock on this physical loot token. Gol'Bloth needs a 14. He rolls a 12. He will exert for 2 to break that open. So all the physical loot, I guess, wraps itself up into a little bag there. And then since I'm using the random encounters chart, whenever a token gets unlocked, we'll roll to see if a monster appears. Something shows up on a 10 plus and an 11. Rolling on the random encounters table, we get a 15. A 15 is a creature called a Horat, which is supposed to be kind of a woolly rhinoceros. I don't have one of those. I do have a woolly mammoth, but this thing it's supposed to be large, but this thing is just gigantic on my table. So instead of using that, I'm going to be using a warg, because this is kind of a big furry creature, and it's pretty large compared to a human-sized figure, so we'll be using that. And based on the direction of my die, it actually pops up right here. It would be in base-to-base contact with this stunned Pathfinder, and as near as I can tell, figures stay stunned when they get into combat. If I'm wrong there, let me know in the comments below. Then, since this creature is still just barely more than an inch away from that loot token, it can be picked up. So this runner on 7 inches can kind of work her way around here into contact with it and pick up that physical loot. Then the gunner will activate and fire at that wounded and stunned Ryakin over there. With coordinated fire, it's a +4. And the bat is normally a +2. It's wounded and stunned, so it gets +2 and -2, so it's still a +2 against +4. That is a 14 with +2 damage against 10 armor. That is 6 damage, and that Ryakin goes down. I want to move him up close to these guys here, but I think this team is just asking for a grenade to get launched at it. So he'll move just a little bit closer to right there. Over to Lieutenant Vereth's turn. He is going to activate with this hacker droid, and he will have it come over here to this data loot token on a single move and then attempt to hack into it. It's got a +7, needs a 14, and so that is hacked into. So this data loot pops up right there, and we'll see if a monster appears on a 10 plus. Nope. Then Lieutenant Vereth is going to run up here on a single move, and then he's going to activate target lock, but first he'll do his power move up to here. And from there, a grenade launcher attack could launch over this right here. So it will affect all 4 of these 2. He'll keep it out of range of this Pathfinder, so it won't affect the monster either. Target lock is successful on a 14, and he gets a 17, so that is successful, and that's 1 strain. Alright, so all 4 of these figures are going to get hit. We'll do Runner, Sentry, Gol'Bloth, and then Basu. Against the Runner, she is encumbered with that loot, so she is only a +1 fight against +3 shooting. That is a 14. That is 5 damage because she has 9 armor, so she is stunned. For the Sentry, +3 against +3. That is a critical hit, and he falls in combat. Against Gol'Bloth, +3 against +3. That's only a 9. He has 9 armor, so no damage there. Then against Basu, he's a +5, and that misses there. So the Runner is stunned, and the Sentry falls in combat once again. Unfortunately, the Sentry hadn't done anything yet this turn, so he was going to come over here and try to help this Pathfinder fight off this beast here. The Pathfinder hasn't activated yet either. He's their only soldier that can activate in their soldier phase. All he's going to do is activate to undo his stun, and he's not going to attack because he's in pretty bad shape. He's just going to try to keep that creature busy there. In Basu's last battle, splitting up the group seemed to work against them, but I think staying together is fighting against them this time. For the Pirates soldier phase, they'll start with having this gunner that's right down there fire down here at General Basu. He can actually see him there. There are 2 pieces of intervening terrain, this right here and part of the ship. So that's a +3 shoot against +7 defense. So that's a 10 shot against 11 defense, so no damage. Then the gunner is going to run down here 5 inches on a single move. The flamer back here is just going to double move right up behind the gunner. This trooper, I guess he's a sentry over here, is going to double move behind the droid over into contact with this unclaimed data token. Then this Pathfinder back here is just going to run over here next to this data and just try his luck on breaking into that. He's got a +2 will. He needs a target number of 14. It's only a 12, so the data is still locked there. Then to this side, this recruit is just going to single move up into contact with this physical loot token, and he'll try to break into that. He's got a +0, target number of 14, and he does not get into that. All the crew members have gone, so now to the creature phase. This Horat is going to attack this poor wounded Pathfinder there. They have a +4 fight, and they also deal +2 damage because they have the strong trait. So +1 against +4, and it misses. That's only a 5 against 5. So since that is a tie, the Pathfinder unfortunately cannot push out of combat. At the end of the turn, the auto turrets will fight. So technically it's supposed to fire at the nearest figure to the wreckage, but since I'm using this as the auto turret, and I'm using that for the line of sight, so the closest figure to that it can see, because it can't actually see these guys, is Lieutenant Vereth. So we'll find out if launching that grenade is going to cost him anything here. This is a +3 against +3, and the laser misses there. I just double-checked the weapon jam rules to find out if that would jam the auto turret, but it says just if a figure rolls a 1. So it's not a figure, so the auto turret will still fire next turn. Initiative for this round goes to General Basu, and since that is an even number, Captain Mira does not get to place another Raiken on the board. To start off this turn, General Basu will activate with the Pathfinder and with the Runner. And first thing that they'll do is the Runner will stand up, then with her one action, she will knock a bunch of stuff over and pull this loot token off the board. After securing the first loot of the game, General Basu will then kind of work his way around here to right there, and then use the command power on their Codecracker there, activating on a 10. Then the Codecracker will activate, and he will try to open up that data loot. He's got a +8, he needs a 14, but only gets a 10. That is some really bad news for them. Then the Pathfinder is going to try to attack this Horat here. +1 against +4. And he got an 11 to a 9, so he does win, doesn't get past the 14 armor. But he will push it back an inch. So now it's going to be closer to that drone. And then he is going to move over to here, so that this gunner will eventually have a clear line of sight to shoot at it. Then to Captain Mira over here. These two soldiers here are just barely within 3 inches, so she's going to activate with them. She will send her gunner over here into the swamp. He can get to right there, and from there he's got a shot at both of these two figures. There's one piece of intervening terrain, and he moved, so they both get an additional +2 to their roll. First, we'll do the Codecracker. With all the modifications, he's a +5 against +3 shoot. Another critical hit. That's 18 damage, and he goes down. And then against their Chisler, this is a +3 against +3, and he defends that. The plan was to move the burner out here to fire at the Codecracker, because they didn't think that he would go down from that. The burner can't get over here and actually reach the Chisler there, so with not much else to do, he doesn't want to come over here and face this Horat, so he is going to instead run over here, and he is also going to try to break into this physical loot token. He's got a +1, needs a 14, and he is broken into that. We'll see if a monster appears. On a 16 it does. And that will be a 8. So an 8 is a Magmite, which from the sounds of it is supposed to be a kind of a lava insectoid type creature. I don't have something like that, but I've got kind of a lava rock monster, I guess more of a ice, a glacial rock monster. So he'll work for this, so that's what we'll use. And the die was pointing right back here, so this is where he will show up. So the physical loot token goes right there between those two soldiers, and then Mira is going to use her dark energy power, and she will fire that through her drone, and it can see the Pathfinder behind that tree there. This is successful on a 10. That is successful. This is a +5 shooting attack against +1 for the wounded Pathfinder. But that is another 1, so that's a failure. And even though she didn't deal any damage with that, she does take 1 point of strain for successfully using the power. She'll then run between her gunner and her burner. Gol'Bloth here will now activate by himself for the first mate phase, and he will attempt to use his heal power on the Pathfinder. This works on a 14. Alright, so that heals 5 points of health for that Pathfinder, so he's no longer wounded. Gol'Bloth will then use his power move and his regular move to run over here. Lieutenant Vereth here will activate with this hacker droid, and he will send the droid all the way over here on a double move to be in contact with that data loot token that the Pathfinder wasn't able to open up. And then Lieutenant Vereth is going to use his target lock ability again to launch a grenade right over here next to Basu and this trooper. Target lock is successful on a 14. Another 20. These guys are rolling hot. Against General Basu, this is a +3 shoot against +5 defense. And that is a 20 to 19, so that hits him. He has 11 armor. He takes 9 points of damage and is stunned. The trooper is a +2 against +3. And that's another 20. Again, 11 armor, so that is 9 damage on the trooper, and he is stunned and wounded. And actually, he's not wounded. He's at 5 health. But both these two are stunned here from that grenade blast. Then Vereth is going to run over here on a single, well, I guess he's got his power move too. So single move and power move will let him move all the way around here. So he's protected from that auto turret now. For the soldier phase, Basu's sniper is going to start out by taking a wide open shot at that sentry down there. This is a +5 against +3 defense. And he jams his sniper rifle. And the sniper can use his mandatory move action to instead clear his jam, so he'll do that with his other action. Well, things aren't really going well here for General Basu's team, with a couple of fallen soldiers, especially their Codecracker, who's probably the only one who can get into this data loot token. Doesn't make much sense for him to try to break into it, because even if he does, he doesn't automatically pick it up, so it's just going to sit there for the other team. And with them being kind of overrun by soldiers here and this Horat here, I think Basu's team's going to start to try to get off the board. They'll start by having their gunner fire at the Horat. +4 shoot against +4 fight. And he got a 22 with +2 damage. Against 14 armor, that is 10 damage. It takes, it's down to 4, so it's wounded and it is stunned. We'll just lay him down there. And then the gunner is going to run 5 inches over to here. Their Chisler is then going to leave that data token there and run over here. This trooper will then stand up from his stun, leaving him with 1 action, and he'll use that to just run over to here. To the crew of the Crossbones, I guess this burner could have picked up that physical loot token when he cracked that open, but that's alright. The recruit instead will grab that, and he is going to then do a half move over to here. So they're right there, and then this Chisler is going to run over here on a double move. Then to this sentry over here by this data token, he will pick that up and run towards the edge of the board, getting right down there. The last soldier to activate is this Pathfinder. He wants to shoot at that Magmite, but seeing as his opponent is trying to flee the battlefield, he's going to make one more attempt at unlocking that data loot. He's got a +2, needs a 14 to hack into it, and he does. See if a monster shows up on a 10+. Nope. And then this data loot token pops up right here. Then the Pathfinder will run over here to draw the attention of the Magmite. And I almost forgot about this drone hiding in the trees up here. It is going to run over here and just engage the Pathfinder to try to hold them up. And that brings us to the creature phase. So the Magmite will run over and attack. He is a +3 fight. And so is the Pathfinder. The Pathfinder wins with a 9. He'll just push him out of combat. And the Magmite has a Lava Splash ability where if a target fighting it rolls a unmodified 5 or less, they'll take some damage, but we don't have to worry about that on a 6. So he is pushed out of combat there. And then this Horat will activate. He will stand up, and then he has 1 action. It will automatically, these things don't like gunfire, so it will go after the closest figure it can see that has fired a weapon, which is this gunner. Since he's wounded, he can only move 6 inches to right there. So he completely bypasses this Pathfinder. At the end of the turn, the auto turret will fire, and this gunner is just slightly closer than Mira to my auto turret. So this is a +3 against +3. And the auto turret wins with a 15 against 11 armor. That's 4 damage to the gunner. We'll roll initiative for the next round. And that goes to the crew of the Crossbones. And since that is even, no riot cans show up this turn. Captain Mira over here will start out this turn by activating with her gunner, her Chisler, and her burner. And she will start by having this gunner fire at this Chisler robot over here. There is one piece of intervening terrain with that ship there. So the Chisler gets a +2 against +3 shoot. And that is a 22 with +2 damage against 10 armor. That is 14 damage. So the Chisler goes down, and I think it'd be fitting for him to roll off of this and land down there by his buddy. Then the gunner with his half move through this swamp can get right over here to the edge of the water. Then the burner is going to do a 5-inch move over here. And from right there, he's just going to lay down a line of fire right through his droid there to try to take out this Pathfinder. Adjusting the flamethrower template for my brick-themed measuring system, that can reach all the way down there to that Horat, so all three of these figures will be targeted, the drone, the Pathfinder, and the Horat. And it says that only solid cover counts for cover, so this probably wouldn't be solid cover here, but it doesn't say how it affects intervening terrain, so I believe that would still count as one piece of intervening terrain for the Pathfinder and for the Horat there. First, we'll make the roll against their own drone. So the drone will be a +0 against the +2 shoot. And that is a 20. So they have just fried their drone there. Next, we'll do against the Pathfinder. He gets the +1 for the one intervening terrain. He's no longer wounded, so he's a +4 against +2 shoot. And that is a 12, so that hits him. And the flamethrower negates armor, light armor and heavy armor, and does +2 damage. So that is a total of 5 damage, wounding that Pathfinder. And I just remembered that the burner moved, so these would have been +1 more for the defender's dice, but he still won against the drone for 2 and won by quite a bit against this Pathfinder. This Pathfinder is stunned. And then against the Horat, so it gets a +1 for intervening terrain, +1 for movement, and it's wounded, but altogether that is a +4 against +2 shoot. That is a 16 against 16, so a tie does nothing for a shooting attack. Otherwise, he would have fried that Horat. I suppose he wouldn't have, because the Horat has a natural armor that wouldn't be reduced. Well, Captain Mira had planned to use that drone to use dark energy, but that's not going to happen. So instead, she's going to use her healing power. She's just going to do her power move to step here so she can see her gunner and then attempt that on a 10. 5. She's got nothing to lose. She'll exert for that and heal the gunner back up to full health. She will then use her regular move to come around here, right down there, and then the Chisler, who had activated with her, will just run up here between them, and he'll come right down over here, actually. General Basu will then activate with the Trooper and with this Sniper, and he'll start with having his Trooper fire his carbine at the Horat. This is a clear shot, so it's a +3 shot against +2 defense. And that is a 13, but the Horat has, or it's a 14, but the Horat has 14 armor, so no damage there. Then the Trooper is going to run off the board. Then this Sniper up here can still see that Sentry hanging out down there. There's 2 pieces of intervening terrain this time. So the Sniper is +5, and the Sentry is +5 with the terrain. That sniper rifle is not working too good. It just jammed again, and he's had it with that, so he's just going to run off the board with 6 inches. General Basu will then activate. He'll stand up from his stun, and then he will activate his target designation power onto this Horat. He does that on an 8. He got a 5, he will exert for 3 to make that successful. So now the Horat gets a -2 to any rolls against shooting attacks, And then Basu will call for a full retreat and can just barely make it off the board with my 3-inch measuring system here. Lieutenant Vereth, right over here, is going to move and then do his power move to right here, and then he will use his target lock power again. He needs a 14 and a 17. He gets it. So he is launching a grenade right here between Gol'Bloth and the gunner. We'll start with the attack against the gunner. +3 against +3. That is a 22. And that deals 11 damage to him. He's down to 3 and he is stunned. Now against Gol'Bloth. +3 against +3. That is a 17 against Gol'Bloth. He has 9 armor, so that is 8 damage on him. So he is stunned, not wounded though, and he goes down. So going to Gol'Bloth's turn, all he's going to do is he's going to activate with the runner. They can both stand up and they have 1 action to then run off the board. Moving to the soldier phase, this recruit carrying this physical loot will run off this side here. Down here, this sentry carrying the data loot will run off down here. Over here, this hacker will pick up this data loot and start running. And he can get to right there. And then the Pathfinder is going to take a shot at that Magmite. This is a +3 against +3. And that is a 10, doesn't get past its armor. And then to General Basu's team, just with this 1 wounded Pathfinder, he's going to stand up from his stun and use his 1 action to run off the board, ending the game. So they'll automatically secure the data loot carried by that hacker, but for this data here, they're going to roll on a 15+. They have got that one too. But they rolled low for once. Well, this was another battle that didn't quite go as General Basu planned. They only got 1 loot token off the table here, and they had 3 of their soldiers fall in combat, so we'll check to see if they survived. Starting with their Chisler, 6, he is badly wounded. Then there's Sentry, 11, he is fine, and for the Codecracker, 9, he is barely fine. Neither Basu nor Gol'Bloth have any after-game powers, so moving to experience points, they get 30 participation points, 30 for having a figure reduced to 0 health, 60 for 6 successful powers, 20 for unlocking 1 token, 1 physical loot token. They get 10 for taking out that enemy recruit, 5 for taking out one of the Ryakan, and 25 special experience points for revealing the centralized token. So even though they didn't actually unlock that, they revealed it, and that got them 25 bonus points. So altogether, they got 180 experience points, and combine that with 75 experience they had from before. They spent 200 to increase Gol'Bloth's level to 2. They increased his fight by +1 up to +4, and lowered the activation number for lift down to 11. And that leaves them with 55 experience points remaining. For their 1 physical loot token, they got a 4. That loot apparently contained the parts they needed to fix their ship and get off of the planet, and it also contained 250 credits worth of trade goods. So they used some of that to upgrade their runner to a medic. They gave her a medic pouch, and then with their wounded droid, their Chisler, they had to rewire him a bit there, so he no longer has his mechanical powers, but he's now a better warrior. They gave him a better blaster that counts as a shotgun because he is now a sentry. The crew of the Hope Rising had hoped to find more loot in that battle. At least they didn't lose anybody, really. They were able to do a couple little upgrades to their team. As far as their strategy this game, the last game they split up and that kind of worked against them. This game they stuck together and that worked against them this time as they got decimated with grenades and then by that one Horath that appeared next to him. Their sniper took out was the only one that took out a figure from the other team. But then he suffered 2 jams, which was really unfortunate especially where he was set up there. He had a great sniper spot. So we'll see if General Basu's team can pull things together a little better in their next battle. Things went pretty well for the crew of the Crossbones in this battle. They were able to recover 3 loot tokens and had just 1 figure fall in combat, so just a recruit, and looks like he died in that battle. For after-game powers, Lieutenant Vereth has the Haggle ability that he can use on a 12, and he gets a 16, so he can potentially sell something for a little more. For experience points, Captain Mira gains 30 for participating in the battle, 30 for having one of their crew members reduced to 0 health, 70 for 7 successfully used powers, 60 for unlocking 3 loot tokens, and 30 for taking out 3 of the opposing figures, for a total of 220, which is the most that any of my crews have received after a battle so far. Captain Mira will use 100 of that to go up to level 16 and lower the activation number for Dark Energy down to 9, and Lieutenant Vereth will bump up to level 1 and lower the activation number of Target Lock down to 13. And that leaves them with 20 experience points left over. For their loot, we got 1 physical and 2 data. We got 2 for the physical and 5 and 19 for the data. And they don't have any further rolls from these. The physical loot is 150 credits for trade goods. And then for the data loot, we have 250 credits on the 5, and the 19 is just a secret for 200 credits. With that secret, if it had been the central treasure token, they could actually trade that in for any item from the advanced weapon, advanced technology, or alien artifact tables. But it wasn't a central token, so it's just credits. Altogether, that loot got them 600 credits, and they had 10 credits saved up from when they started, so they used 50 of that to upgrade this recruit to a trooper back there, and then to replace their fallen recruit, they got another burner, as the one burner they had seemed to do pretty good there with his flaming attack. This battle went about as well as any battle could possibly hope. They had a lot of great rolls, including a few critical hits. The powers from especially Lieutenant Vereth, just simply being able to launch grenades across the battlefield, did some serious damage. They had some figures that had some good attack rolls with the flamethrower and with their gunner with his rapid fire. And they came out with some good loot, and I think they're going to be proving themselves to be quite powerful in this campaign. Before I wrap this video up, I want to take a moment to discuss a rule that I missed. A viewer pointed out after my last battle that during captain creation, you can reduce 2 of their powers' activation numbers by 1 point. I'd already begun filming this video when I saw the comment, so I've decided to lower those numbers right now. General Basu will lower Armoury to 9 and Toxic Secretion to 13. Captain Mira will lower Drone to 11 and Voidblade to 9. And System Crash will lower Data Knock to 11 and Transport, which he improved in his last battle, down to 8. I want to thank you for watching. If you notice any rules I got wrong or have any questions about my gameplay, let me and the community know in the comments below, as my goal with these videos is to create an accurate representation of how to play Stargrave. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to click like or subscribe so you can keep up with all the content I'm releasing. I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming, and I'll see you on the next video.